never to leave, always in each endeavor, and a life ending, never giving a smile every mile. Happy am I, happy am I, all of my sins forgiven. What a great day. Life is not worth a living. One of these days, I'll be enjoying heaven. Now that I know, upward I'll go. Happy am I, happy am I. How can I help but shout it every day? Telling the world about it. Jesus is real. Only believe, don't doubt it. Then you will be happy like me. Happy am I. Not bad. Some of you were lip singing, like literally. I was watching you lip singing, like. So let's do that again. Let's do the third verse. Third verse again, all right? No lip singing either. Happy am I. How can I help but shout it every day? Telling the world about it. Jesus is real. Only believe, don't doubt it. Then you will be happy like angel. Happy am I. And see, this guy's always smiling. Always. He's happy. He's a happy dude. Yeah. So, yep. And he's not faking it either. So, he was handing out lessons. And he was smiling. So, all right. You had one, right? Right, Miss Linda? What is it? Number 15. Okay. So, do a favorite number 15. No, I don't need one. Thanks, bro. Yeah. Well, like I said, it's good to see everybody. It's good to have Howard here this morning. Mind if I mention it? I'm going to mention that. He was in the hospital yesterday. He had a heart attack. Yep, so he's here today, so praise God for that. I didn't know that he's masonry, right? Yeah. So that's hard work. I don't know anything about it. I mean, I watch it, but I'm not built for that. But that's hard work, so that's an answer to prayer. And also for Brother Mike, too. I know that we've been praying for his baby sister, Winter, who was in the NICU. She actually came home, so that's an answer to prayer. And I was telling Brother Mike that even though it seems, here's a key word, even though it doesn't seem like God is doing anything in your life, but when he answers prayers in the lives of others, he's at work. And again, like I said, it's the key word is it doesn't seem, because he's working behind the scenes on your behalf. It just hasn't come to fruition yet. Not that we could see it, but to hear that he's answering prayers. Still God, still powerful, still in control, still answering prayers, still doing everything that he said he'd do. So that's something to rejoice in. All right, so hymn 15, I love you, Lord. All right, let's sing both verses. Okay. I thank you, Lord, for all you've done. I don't deserve your love. When I was lost, you saw my need and left your home above. I love you, Lord, I love you, Lord, because of Calvary. I love you. Test. That may seem insignificant things to us, but even the little things like that, I mean, he hears and he's the God of the big things, the little things. The Lord help me find my glasses, my keys, my wallet. Yep. If it's significant to you, then it's significant to God. So, right, anybody else? Keep a record on your prayers. My card is open. Rehabilitation. And also, I wanted to just give us another reminder. This month is Pastor Appreciation Month. For those of you who haven't participated, what we're doing is every Sunday we'll call church send the pastor a gift card. Companies carry gift cards to just different places. So if you haven't participated in that, if you'd like to participate in it, you'll just see Brother Paula. You can go to JR. That's a good question. Maybe you can Google it. Let's see. Anybody else? Hey, Brother JR. You put that out. The link, the prayer request. Website. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, also the website that we have. Spend a couple of minutes taking prayer requests from that as well. So. Anybody else? If not, it's supposed to be one. Heavenly Father, Lord, we want to thank you, Lord, for allowing us to come before you. Lord, thank you for allowing us to wake up, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for the blessings that you give us, those that are obvious and those that may not seem so obvious, Father. Because we're here today, Father, you have a purpose for us today, Lord. And I thank you, Father, for just giving your Son, Jesus Christ, to die for our sins, Lord. For allowing us to come before you, Lord, because of what he did, Father, because of his righteousness, Lord. Because of that, Father, you want us to ask you and you want us to seek you, Lord. You want us to be dependent upon you, 100% dependent upon you, Lord, to look to you and through prayers, Lord. And with these prayers that I mentioned, Father, I pray, Lord, that we're confident that you'll hear us, Lord. In your time, Lord, and your time is always, it's always the best time, Father. I know that we keep becoming patient and in a rush, and it seems like you're not hearing us and ignoring us, Father, but we don't know what you're doing behind the scenes, Father. If you just wait on you, Father. And we'll be glad for it, and we'll look back and be thankful that we didn't give up, during the morning service, but in Sunday school, Father. You want to hear from us during singing, Father. Help us to lift our voices up to you, Lord. Be a pastor, Lord. Thank you for the man of God that you've given us, Father. Give him wisdom, Father, and all the decisions that he can make, Father. Help him, Father. Encourage him for that kind of protection around him and his family, Lord. I pray, Lord, that you fill this place with the Holy Spirit, Lord, and also the Super Church, Lord, and for youth choir tonight and the service tonight, Father. Just bless everything that's going to happen here. What we need to hear from not only today, Father, but throughout the entire week, Father. Pray these things in Son Jesus' name. Amen. Bill's doing the scripture reading, and I get a text. You are? Where are we at today? I'm sorry, John chapter 4.
John chapter 4. When therefore the Lord knew how the Pharisees had heard that Jesus made and baptized more disciples than John, though Jesus himself baptized not, but his disciples, he left Judea and departed again into Galilee. And he must needs go through Samaria. Then cometh he to a city of Samaria, which is called Sychar, near to the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Now Jacob's well was there. Jesus therefore, being wearied with his journey, sat thus on the well, and it was about the 6th hour. There cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water. Jesus saith unto her, Give me to drink. For his disciples were gone away unto the city to buy meat. Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, How is it that thou, being a Jew, askest drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. Jesus answered and said unto her, If thou knewest the gift of God, and who it is that saith to thee, Give me to drink, thou wouldest have asked of him, and he would have given thee living water. The woman saith unto him, Sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. From whence then hast thou that living water? Art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well, and drank thereof himself, and his children, and his cattle? Jesus answered and said unto her, Whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again, but whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life. The woman saith unto him, Sir, give me this water, that I thirst not, neither come hither to draw. Jesus saith unto her, Go, call thy husband, and come hither. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. Jesus said unto her, Thou hast well said, I have no husband, for thou hast had 5 husbands, and he who thou now hast is not thy husband, in that saidst thou truly. The woman saith unto him, Sir, I perceive that thou art a prophet. Our fathers worshipped in this mountain, and ye say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship. Jesus saith unto her, Woman, believe me, the hour cometh, when ye shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father. Ye worship, ye know not what. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshippers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for the Father seeketh such to worship him. God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. The woman saith unto him, I know that Messiah cometh, which is called Christ. When he is come, he will tell us all things. Jesus said unto her, I that speak unto thee am he. And upon this came his disciples, and marveled that he talked with the woman. Yet no man said, What seekest thou, or why talkest thou with her? The woman then left her water pot, and went her way into the city, and saith to the men, Come, see a man which told me all things that ever I did. Is this not the Christ? Then they went out of the city, and came unto him. In the meanwhile his disciples prayed him, saying, Master, eat. But he said unto them, I have meat to eat that ye know not of. Therefore saith the disciples one to another, Hath any man brought him aught to eat? Jesus saith unto them, My meat is to do the will of him that sent me, and to finish his work. Say not ye, there are yet 4 months, and then cometh harvest? Behold, I saith unto you, lift up your eyes, and look on the fields, for they are white already to harvest. And he that reapeth receiveth wages, and gathereth fruit unto life eternal, that both he that soweth and he that reapeth may rejoice together. And herein is that saying true, one soweth and another reapeth. I sent you to reap that whereon ye bestowed no labor. Other men labored, and ye are entered into their labors. And many of the Samaritans of that city believed on him for the saying of the woman which testifieth, He told me all that ever I did. So when the Samaritans were come unto him, they besought him that he would tarry with them, and he abode there 2 days. And many more believed because of his own word. And he said unto the woman, Now we believe, not because of thy saying, for we have heard him ourselves, and know that this is indeed the Christ, the Savior of the world. Now after 2 days he departed thence, and went into Galilee. For Jesus himself testified that a prophet hath no honor in his own country. Then when he was come into Galilee, the Galileans received him, saying, having seen all the things that he did at Jerusalem at the feast, for they also went unto the feast. So Jesus came again into Cana of Galilee, where he made the water wine. And there was a certain nobleman whose son was sick at Capernaum. When he heard that Jesus was come out of Judea into Galilee, he went unto him and besought him that he would come down and heal his son, for he was at the point of death. Then said Jesus unto him, Except ye see signs and wonders, ye will not believe. The nobleman saith unto him, Sir, come down ere my child die. Jesus said unto him, Go thy way, thy son liveth. And the man believed the word that Jesus had spoken unto him, and he went his way. And as he was now going down, his servants met him and told him, saying, The son liveth. Then inquired he of them the hour when he began to amend. And they said unto him, Yesterday at the 7th hour the fever left him. So the father knew that it was at the same hour in the which Jesus said unto him, Thy son liveth, and himself believed, and his whole house. This is again the second miracle that Jesus did when he was come out of Judea into Galilee.
It's good. Jesus went out of his way for that one woman. No, it wasn't, I guess, expedient for him to go to Samaria, but he went out of his way. Excellent. That's great. Very good. I don't have any. I'll give you next week. I'll give you 2. That was good. All right, let me try it. He that ruleth over men must be just, ruling in the fear of God, and he shall be as the light of the morning when the sun riseth, as a morning without clouds, as a tender grass springing out of the earth. With the clear shining after the rain. Okay. I got 2 wrong, 2 words. 2 wrong there. But you get 2 though. It was 2. Anybody else? I know it's kind of challenging, but I said that's why we have these verses, right? So the verse that we have this week, we'll go over that at the end, but listen, I want everybody to look at it, try to memorize it, the same way that we memorize other things that are important to us. Let's memorize it, right? Like I said, again, these things, it's only going to help us if we know the Word of God when we're going through something. It's only going to help us. It's going to challenge us too. If we have these things, we're not looking at it. If we don't even, take a picture of it. Like what I do is, I would take a picture of it and put it on the background on my phone. That way it's always there. Just something where it's always visible. We could do this. Next week, again, it's the same people every week. It's usually Sandy, Kelsey, Lisa's not even here, and or Miss Linda. Let's get somebody new next week. All right, so whatever the memory verse is, go over it. Let's look at it, write it down, however you're going to memorize it. Let's get more people doing this next week. Everybody has a lesson, correct? Okay. All right, so continuing our lesson from last week, which is ruling in the fear of God. We learned that everybody, to one degree or another, is a leader. Everybody. Again, we don't need a designation to be a leader. As long as you have an influence and an impact on somebody, then you're leading them. Now the question is, how are you leading them? Are you leading them to do right? Or are you leading them to do wrong? So that's the question. What kind of impact are you having? The child of God that has been given a designated position in leadership. Maybe you're a mother. Maybe you're a father, supervisor at your job, bus captain. God has allowed you to lead for this purpose. He wants you to lead in a way that's going to reflect Him. That's why He's given you that position of leadership, to lead in a way that's going to reflect Him. Now, using an illustration of the grand reality of God that you should all have in your sheets here. Now, since God is over everything, and since He's good all the time, those that are given authority by Him, they must exercise this leadership to demonstrate His goodness. All right? There's so many people that say, you know what, I won't go to church because the church, people there are hypocrites, so I don't want to have anything to do with God. I don't want to have anything to do with church. And they say that, I don't go to church because Catholic priests, because of pedophiles. I don't go to church. I don't go to church because all pastors want is money. I don't go to church because Christians say one thing and then they do another. In most instances, what they're doing is this, right? They're looking at the leadership of the church. They're looking at they're looking at the failed leadership of the church. And they're saying that if the leadership, whether the priests, the pastors, whatever the case is, if these men are supposed to be men of God, then why are they doing things that are contrary to the men of God? Or why are they doing things that are contrary to God? They're looking at the leadership, and they're saying that there's something wrong with the leadership there, because they know that, that if you're supposed to be people of God, if you're supposed to be a leader of God, then you shouldn't act that way, or you shouldn't do the things that you do. And they're looking directly at the top. And they have a point in some cases. And this is why Christians, I'm talking to Bible-believing Christians, especially church leadership, we need to live and lead our way. We need to live our lives and lead in a way where lost people, where they can't use our poor testimony as an excuse for not considering God. That's poor leadership. And last week we looked at examples of poor leadership. So being a dictator, that's poor leadership. If you're a dictator, do as I say, you're a poor leader. If you're passive, you're a poor leader, right? So it's a tender aggressiveness that the godly leader should strive for. What's the tender aggressiveness? That's having truth, speaking the truth, saying what should be said, confronting when confrontation is needed, but also having love. The example of Jesus Christ, having grace and having truth. Again, not just all grace, anything goes, tolerating everything, and not just all truth, where you're always just, beating up on people, but having both in them, being balanced. So this week, we'll look into what a godly leader looks like. And as we're doing this, I want you guys to think about a few things, because I'm going to ask some questions at the end, if we have time to do that. I'm going to ask a few questions, because again, everybody here is a leader, so I want us to consider, what kind of leader are you, right? And that's the questions that we'll ask at the end. Right? Luke chapter 12, verse 48 says this, "Unto whomever much is given, of him shall much be required, and to whom men have committed much, of him they shall ask the more." So that first section there should be God's rules for rulers. So no one who has been granted authority is free to use that authority in ways not authorized by God himself. So no one who's been granted authority is free to use that authority in ways not authorized by God himself. You know, we would call this an abuse of power. Right? That's why so I could put this. The one thing that people hate is people who abuse their power. That's why there's not a love for politicians in Washington, because we say they would abuse their power. Or we now see there's movements, right, against cops, right, who we say they abuse their power, right? Teachers who abuse their powers, a boss, a father, a mother, a pastor. Listen, the seed of revolution is an abuse of power. That's the seed of revolution start because leadership has abused their powers. I say the revolutions that they're always justified, but if the core of rebellion is failed leadership or is poor leadership, and the people are going to revolt. Right now, for moms that are here, God gave you that role of being a mother for this reason, to have a godly influence on your children. God didn't give you children so they could be an emotional crutch for you. God didn't give you a son so he could be the man that you've always wanted. Listen, God didn't give you your kids for your purpose. That's not why he made you a mother. He gave you kids so you can have a godly influence over them, so you can point them towards Jesus Christ. That's the reason why he gave you children, not to fulfill your emotional needs. A lot of moms out here, my children, they live for their children. And we probably call them mama's boys. They don't want their sons to get married. They just want to latch onto their children. They don't want their children to do anything, because it's about my needs. My son, he meets my needs. No, that's not why God made you a mother. That's not why he gave you children. All right, and to the fathers here, there's a few of us. I'm speaking to myself too. God didn't give us authority to bully our children. He didn't give us leadership in the home to bully our wives. It's not just, shut up and, listen to me. Just shut up, son or daughter, whatever, or wife, just listen to me. No. That's not why Dad made me a father or a husband. It's not so I could just throw my weight around. Listen, if I have to stand on top of a couch and beat my chest and tell everybody, listen to me, follow me, I'm the man of this house, like I rule this castle, then that's not leadership at all. You shouldn't have to do that. You shouldn't have to advertise to everybody or feel the need to remind everybody that you're the leader of the house, that everybody should listen to you. That's not leadership. Right? God never intended for a father or a husband to conduct themselves in that way. Right? Listen, God doesn't call men to be pastors to fulfill whatever need that they have. To get people to just listen to me and just it's God calls men to be pastors to lead his sheep. Not for a man who's ego tripping and who wants to bully people. That's a pulpit. That's not a bully pit. So that's not a platform for a man to stand behind and to bully people and say, and listen to me and in the South there's something that some pastors say, bless God, everybody has to listen to me and no. Those are God's people. Matter of fact, the pastor has to listen to God because Jesus Christ being a chief shepherd, the pastor is under shepherd. So he's leading in the stead of Jesus Christ. So if you see a pastor that's going around that's harassing the congregation, who's mean-spirited, who's wicked, who's prideful, who's arrogant, who's egotistical, that's poor leadership. That's poor leadership. Right? Godly leadership takes a role of leading seriously. So somebody who's been given a position of leadership, godly leadership, whether it's a pastor, whether that's a children's pastor, a youth pastor, whatever the case is, bus captain, bus worker, God has placed you in that role, and we're supposed to take that role seriously, meaning this, that we don't use it to fulfill our purposes, that we don't use it to fulfill our agenda, we don't use it to boost our egos. That's not why he's given us that position. Right? I like this one. The kind of follower that you are will determine the kind of leader that you are. The kind of follower that you are will determine the kind of leader that you are. If you're the kind of follower who likes to manipulate and connive and you're scheming and you're deceitful and you're trying to do things in the back, you're trying to undermine leadership, that's indicative. You're going to be a poor leader. You're going to be a poor leader. You know why? Because it's always about your agenda and it's always about your motives. Listen to this, right? Every general is a soldier at some point. It's like I said last week, right? Everybody wants to be a chief, but nobody wants to be an Indian. Everybody wants to, follow me, but I don't want to say everybody. Generally speaking, people want to be at the top because, again, that it's a glamorous role. People have to answer to you. People have to look up to you. So that can be very appealing in the flesh to want to be a leader, to want to be the boss, to want to be at the top. But before you get to the top, before you become a general, you have to be a soldier. And the kind of soldier you are will determine the kind of general that you'll be. If you're a good soldier, a soldier who doesn't undermine leadership, a soldier who follows, then you'll be a good general. And listen to this, right? And then the people that you're leading, they'll follow you. The same way that you followed the general and you were a good soldier, more than likely, the people will follow you the same way. There's a verse here. My brethren, be not many masters. You hear that? Be not many masters. Again, don't try to be bosses, if you will, or leaders, if you will. My brethren, be not many masters, knowing that we shall receive the greater condemnation. For in many things we offend all. If any man offend not in word, the same as a perfect man, and able also to bridle the whole body. That's James chapter 3, verse 1 and 2. What that verse is saying is, don't be quick to want a position of authority. Listen, if you want authority so bad, that's a pride issue. If you feel the need that you just have to be on top, that you just have to give orders and you have to be a boss, it's a pride issue, right? And be careful in thinking this. I could preach better than that person, or you know what? Hey, listen, if I was the children's pastor, I'd do things better than JR. Be careful to think that. Be careful to think, Brother Paul, man, if I was youth pastor, or this, if I was pastor, if I was pastor, this is what I would do. Be very careful to think that. And good thing that you're neither of those things either. I'm thankful that you're not a youth pastor, or a children's pastor, or a pastor, any of those things, because the people that you're following, they'd be in big trouble, and you'd be in big trouble too, because you'd have to give an account to God. And you'd have to give an account to God for that kind of leadership, and you have to stand before him. So I'm thankful that you're not in those positions of leadership, because we'd all be in big trouble, right? So with leadership comes more responsibility and also more accountability. So the more authority you get, the more accountability that you'll have, right? I touched on this last week. The more authority you're given, the less freedom that you'll have. Let me explain this a little further. Right, so listen, again, if Jesus Christ came, took upon him the form of servant, if God in the flesh made himself of no reputation, so what makes us think that because we're leaders, that we could just do whatever we want, that we could just use leadership however we want? If God himself said, and I'm not going to come as a king, could have came as a king, right? Nobody could blame him for that. But he came and he took upon him the form of a servant. So what makes you think that, leadership is for me and to use for my own purposes? Not at all. Listen, a godly leader's thinking should be this. We'll probably have to end it a few more minutes. A godly leader's thinking should be this. Because I'm in a position of leadership, I should live a life that is so above reproach. What does it mean, above reproach? Above suspicion, that I wouldn't give people any reason or excuse to sin. So like Brother JR, he has a designated position. He's a children's pastor. And I'm sure I know his thinking is this, that I don't want anybody, any of these little ones that I'm leading, I don't want to give them an excuse or a reason to sin because of this, because Brother JR is doing that. Or Brother JR watches X, Y, and Z, so I'll watch X, Y, and Z. And here's the thing, too, because I spoke about it last week. Maybe his X, Y, whatever he's watching, maybe there's nothing inherently wrong with it. But listen, if it's going to cause a mature Christian, a babe in Christ, to fall back into sin, and he's aware of it, then he's in sin. That's the way that a godly leader would think. Or somebody could say this, pastor says this, so I'm going to say it. Or maybe Brother Paul says this. Or Sandy, I saw Sandy say this or do this. Or maybe I saw something on the phone a kid said. I saw Miss Sandy looking at something on the phone. So I'm going to look at it. But her thing is going to be, I don't want to give these kids, these bus kids, the one who I lead, the one who look up to me as an example, I don't want to give them any reason or an excuse to sin. Because again, people that we lead, they're always, especially in the church, people are always looking at the leaders, especially the leaders. Because here's the thing, right? Because we're prone to sin, we're always looking for an excuse to do wrong. And if we can say that I did wrong because I saw the church leadership doing wrong, we feel justified in doing that. You're fine. And because we want to be above reproach, we're not going to do those things. So we'll put aside some things because we don't want to give others an excuse to sin. Right? A person who rules in the fear of God takes accountability seriously. Again, you take accountability seriously. I'm going to stand before God, and I'm going to be held accountable. I mean, pastors are going to have to stand before. Pastor's going to have he's going to have to give an account for us. I mean, that's why it takes being a pastor seriously. Not everybody does that, but he knows. I mean, you're going to have to answer, for your people, the people that my flock, in Jesus Christ, that I've put you in leadership to shepherd. If the flock is going astray, and you didn't do anything about that, and you didn't confront them, and you didn't try to help them, and you didn't try to love them and minister to them, you're gonna have to answer for that. I don't know about you, but I don't want to. We're all gonna have to give an account to God. But leaders are held to a higher standard. The next line there, the leader who says, I have the liberty to do this or do that or listen to this or, I really don't care if it's making another Christian to struggle, that's called fleshly leadership. We're not going to be able to finish. Let me just give you this last one. So self-serving authoritarianism so this person pleases himself by controlling others more than God intends. Too strict. Now, this is a leader that tries to manipulate and control everything and everybody. They say God's in control, but really, they want to be in control. So they say, God's in control, but, be frank with you, they don't trust God enough. So they feel like, God, let me take the reins from you, right? Like everything needs to go according to their plans, not God's plans. It's about their agenda, not God's agenda. All right, let's send it down. Let me give you the verse. All right, so the verse for next week is this. Everybody has a verse, right? All right, so this is a verse for next week. All right, so James chapter 3, verse 1 and 2. My brethren, be not many masters, knowing that ye shall receive the greater condemnation. For in many things we offend all. If any man offend not in word, the same is a perfect man and able also to bridle the whole body. All right, let's look over it, take pictures, write it down, whatever you need to do to have it memorized. And let's pray. I'm dealing with Father, Lord.